Over 180 academics and administrators from Gaza's universities have signed a letter calling on the world to help resist the ongoing attack on their higher education system. Throughout its war on Gaza, Israel has relentlessly attacked civilian infrastructure, and this includes destroying or damaging all 12 universities in the Strip. The letter depicts the current situation on the ground like this. We issue this call from beneath the bombs of the occupation forces across occupied Gaza, in the refugee camps of Rafah, and from the sites of temporary new exile in Egypt and other host countries. We are disseminating it as the Israeli occupation continues to wage its genocidal campaign against our people daily in its attempt to eliminate every aspect of our collective and individual life. Over the past 7 months, Israel have killed more than 5,500 students, 250 teachers, and 95 university professors, with several thousand being severely injured and traumatized. 60% of educational facilities, including 13 public libraries, have been destroyed or damaged, and education has been suspended for 625,000 school children and 88,000 university students, none of whom will be able to graduate this year. This is part of a pattern of attacking the Palestinian education system. A group of UN experts, including the Special Rapporteur on the Right to Education, Farida Shahid, have previously said this. With more than 80% of schools in Gaza damaged or destroyed, it may be reasonable to ask if there is an intentional effort to comprehensively destroy the Palestinian education system, an action known as scholasticide. So that term, scholasticide, was coined by Palestinian scholar Carmen Abulsi following the 2009 war on Gaza. The term refers to the systemic destruction, in whole or in part, of the educational life of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. So this can be through the harassment, detention, and killing of educators, students, and educational administrators, as well as through the destruction of teaching and research resources like libraries, archives, and laboratories. The point here is that scholasticide destroys the educational life of a group or community, and that's really important. Because when we think about what genocide is, it's not just about the physical elimination of a people. It's also about the attempt to eliminate the existence of a people, as an identity, and a community. In fact, the Genocide Convention specifically highlights the mental as well as physical elements of genocide. Destroying the ability of people to exist as a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group involves destroying the civil infrastructures through which that group creates and memorializes its history, knowledge, and identity. And by destroying universities and schools and the people who work in them, you're not only trying to destroy a community's future, but also the records of their past. And this chimes with many other attacks, including, for example, the destruction of the Gaza City archives, which contains thousands of historical documents dating back more than 150 years. And the letter really powerfully highlights this broader impact. Our civic infrastructure, our universities, schools, hospitals, libraries, museums, and cultural centres, built by generations of our people, lies in ruins from this deliberate, continuous Nakba. The deliberate targeting of our educational infrastructure is a blatant attempt to render Gaza uninhabitable and erode the intellectual and cultural fabric of our society. However, we refuse to allow such acts to extinguish the flame of knowledge and resilience that burns within us. And that flame of knowledge and resilience is indeed still alive and well, as shown by this image, which shows a graduate student of Al-Azhar University in Gaza defending his master's thesis from a displacement tent. Earlier today, I spoke to Dr. Ahmed Abu Shaban, the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture and Veterinary Medicine at Al-Azhar University in Gaza, and one of the signatories of the letter. And I began by asking him about the role of universities like Al-Azhar and what they play in the life of him and his students.
The Al-Azhar universities and other universities in Gaza just standing as a great opportunity for them to obtain their high education. And, Al-Azhar University started a small university with limited resources, under occupation, with all the restriction made by the Israeli occupation on the higher education system, but with a lot of efforts and support from, um, um, I mean, international community. We were able to actually to build actually a huge university with currently more than 14,000 students, 12 faculties, 80 bachelor program, 30 master program, and 5 PhD programs with several research institutes and community services, actually centers providing services and research to support actually the Palestinian economy and different sectors within Gaza Strip. I mean, Al-Azhar University is one of those institutions that reflects actually the resilience of the Palestinian people over their land in Gaza.
And given that role that you've outlined, particularly in light of the fact that Palestinians in Gaza, their ability to engage in higher education has been both globally and even within Palestine has been so difficult. How has the war impacted the higher education system in Gaza and your colleagues and your students in particular?
It is more intense, this war, but I mean, this is not the first time Israelis actually they have their policy actually to target the higher education system in Palestine in general, but in Gaza in most particular. We have before in previous wars against, uh, I mean, on Gaza, destroying several buildings, laboratories, research stations of the university. But this time, actually, it was really massive that they destroyed almost all the buildings, destroyed all the facilities, including laboratories, research station, even training centers. So they left literally nothing. I mean, the only the new campus that actually was recently actually completed and was operating like couple of years ago. It was totally destroyed. They occupied the buildings, and after occupying the buildings, they just destroyed everything, simply reflecting, I mean, that it is not kind of a hot conflict zone, and they wish actually to, or that became accidentally. No, it was intentionally meant to destroy all the universities, leaving not only the 14,000 students in my university without the higher education, but also uh, all 100,000 university students in Gaza are actually left without their universities, and of course, all the academic staff also lost their jobs. And the most actually serious thing that it is threatening the existence and the presence of Palestinian people over their land, because the role of the universities is not only higher education, it is actually a symbolic of our presence and sustainability and resilience of the Palestinian people. And this is actually one of their intention, actually. They wish actually to make Gaza unlivable.
There are many reasons as well why oppressed people, marginalized people around the world identify with the Palestinians. But a big reason is because Palestinian writers, scholars, historians, archivists, who many of whom have been trained in these universities, have been such great educators around the world of their own struggle and also what the Palestinian struggle means for all of our freedoms. And so that kind of international resonance as well is something that the Israelis are trying to extinguish by this assault. But talking about that kind of global outlook, the letter that you signed on to is addressed to the world. So, what is your demand to those around the world, particularly those in higher education?
You see the solidarity all over the world. I mean, the wonderful, beautiful, effective students uprising, trying to support and show solidarity with the Palestinian people in um, all universities or many universities all over the world, and solidarity shown by academics and some even academic institution all over the world. They have one question: how can we support? And there is actually good intention to help and support Palestinian higher education system. Uh, Unfortunately, with those good intentions, sometimes we may just end up supporting part of the systems to find opportunities outside the system, like providing a scholarship for students to join other universities outside Gaza or outside Palestine, providing some fellowships, visiting professor positions for the academics, trying to support people to get out of because of course this is a need. I mean, for a student who lost his university, he needs a university to study. For an academic who lost his job, he needs a job. He needs a university to place him and to, of course, to provide him with a job to sustain his livelihood. This is good at individual level. But unfortunately, I mean, at national interest level, this is not good because if we just look at this, we are trying now to, with good intention, to support people, but we are also evacuating the system from of its components. So let's just imagine if the students left the university and the academics left the university, and in 1 or 2 years after actually the end of the war, we just rehabilitate the buildings and we want to resume work of the universities inside Gaza. While we lost most of our academics and most of our students, they are searching actually opportunities outside. So I think this would not be really helpful. I mean, if we just think about the resilience. And as a Palestinian, I mean, as I just described before, I mean, this is maybe the most intense and the most I mean, destructive war that actually caused total damage of all facilities. But we faced this before. We had also some buildings were destroyed before. We rebuilt those buildings. We just restarted again. I mean, this is the resilience of the Palestinian people to stay on, to stay in their land, resume their work, and stay there. Now, what should we do? I believe we should support Palestinian universities inside Gaza to resume provision of their education, teaching, research activities, given the ongoing situation. Maybe at such early stage, while actually the conflict is still ongoing, it's very difficult to think about um, rehabilitating the buildings, but we can support the resilience of the people. We can, I mean, Al Azhar University is currently, starting from next week, we are starting online teaching. Many of the colleagues who just are displaced now in Egypt and many others who are just in the tents in Gaza, they will just provide lectures online. And very important issue also, we should never decide for academic institutions inside Gaza without actually asking the people inside Gaza what they want. There are many initiatives were done to support Gaza, which is really wonderful and helpful, but we need to consider that the future of the academic system in Gaza should be actually decided by academics and the students in Gaza, and they should, given the opportunity to deliver their voice to the international community and just informing everybody about the intention to keep resisting the Israeli policy to destroy our higher education system and to seek support of the higher education institutions in Gaza.
We've had a look at this really powerful image of a master's student at Al-Azhar University, where you graduated from and work. And he's defending his thesis literally amongst the rubble. As someone from Al-Azhar University, what does that image represent to you?
Yeah, it's simply resilience. That you can demolish the buildings, you can destroy laboratories, you can even kill colleagues and some of the students. But our resilience, they cannot kill. We will resist and we will stay. And this is our land.
That was Dr. Ahmed Abu Shaban of Al-Azhar University in Gaza, who spoke to me earlier today. We also have an update on Gaza. According to US President Joe Biden, Israel has made a ceasefire and hostage proposal to Hamas. The full details haven't been released, but we understand it will come in 3 phases. First, a 6-week ceasefire. Second, the return of remaining hostages. And third, a reconstruction plan for Gaza. Biden has also urged both Israel and Hamas to accept it. I'm sure we'll have more on those developments next week. It's worth thinking about what rebuilding kind of means in this context, because we know what disaster capitalism does. It causes destruction, and then it reshapes the destruction it creates into a very particular image. And one thing that was really stressed in that interview that I had with Dr. Ahmed is that rebuilding and reconstruction has to be bottom up. It has to be Palestinians being able and given the space and the freedom to rebuild their own society, which has been destroyed. And that includes, higher education, it includes civilian infrastructure, libraries, cultural centers, all of these things that make a community a community. Just that little update there that came in during the show.